Our thermostat recognized his phone before I did. The thermostat called him family before I had the chance to object. I was on the loading dock inventing new verbs for a palate that refused humility when my phone buzzed with the cheerful tyranny of automation. Home away assist, switch to home, Myra +1 just arrived. The push wore our street name like proof. Beneath it, a little greenhouse icon beside two dots labeled helpfully, Myra's iPhone, R, iPhone. R not Roman spelled out, not a coincidence. Just the letter like a door someone forgot to close. The smart thermostat thinks it owns our climate because I allowed it to. It has geofencing, a word that sounds like civilization until it's deciding who belongs. When both of us leave, it slides the heat down and the lights behave. When one of us comes back, it opens the warm like a prim waiter. It had just extended that courtesy to a stranger. I opened the app with the thumb a man uses when he suspects the world has given itself permission. The activity log scrolled cleanly. 1903 set to home. Motion detected in hallway. Recognized devices entering geofence. Myra's iPhone R. iPhone new. 1904 schedule overridden by presence. 1906 living room lights set to evening rose. The automation I'd named months ago to flatter our patients had been activated without me. I drove home with the polite, concentrated speed that makes sirens nod at your choices. Our building knew too much about soups and laundry. The elevator's mirror was honest and cruel. At our door, I saw the lock's small green affirmation I had once loved. Inside, the apartment had made itself beautiful on command. The thermostat's little eye glowed like a coin. The air was warmer than we deserved. From the kitchen, a low song that means food will forgive a day. Myra was barefoot at the counter cutting figs, with the focus she usually saves for making strangers obedient. She looked up, saw my face downgrade the evening's ambition, and set the knife down gently as if injuries were optional. "The house says R came home with you," I said, "because I am, against all odds, a polite man." She breathed out with that small, intact sound that belongs to people who refuse to rehearse lies. "I added a device," she said. The sentence tried to be administrative, to keep the place warm. "For him," I said, "so he wouldn't have to put on a sweater." She wiped her fingers on a towel and crossed the kitchen. Terrestrial lightning, the smell of figs dish soap her. "For me," she said, "so I didn't have to feel like I was sneaking into a museum after hours." "The museum noticed," I said, and turned my phone so the app could be a witness. Two dots, an algorithm expanded into a mouth. Before she could reply, the hallway light dimmed itself a notch into evening and the thermostat quietly exhaled another small benevolence. It understood presence. It did not understand offense. 21 days, I said, because I don't trust courage that can't be counted. 3 weeks where the house recognizes only the phones that pay the bills and sleep here on purpose. No new household members. No geofencing that includes ghosts. If at the end you still want his pocket to open our heat, I'll stop arguing with the weather. But you won't be able to say I didn't offer to be the warm thing. Myra's mouth tried not to smile and then allowed itself to. "And what do you put on the table?" she asked, "besides settings and righteous sentences?" "Now," I said, "I bring now like groceries. I stop saving appetite for Saturdays and good hair. I stop being a thermostat with hands behind my back. I arrive as heat, not as a plan." She stepped close, close enough for the part of me that has always recognized her to overrule the part that collects logs. "Do you want me now?" she asked, not soft, not loud. The volume truth uses when it intends to be kept. "Yes," I said, and the room accepted the new programming. We kissed in the kitchen where devices had been busy making a case against us. Her hand found my neck like a right eye'd been letting lapse. My palm found the small, warm acre above her hip that no automation will ever understand. It wasn't acrobatic. It was specific. The thermostat clicked once, something about fan speed, and then, perhaps sensing its job was to mind its business, went quiet. We didn't stage a spectacle, we performed a correction. After I opened the app and tapped through the household list, there it was, our iPhone added by Myra at 1858, trusted for home away assist, ON. I toggled it off. The slider moved too easily, like apologies people believe are owed to machines. A dialogue asked, "Are you sure?" I told the rectangle I was. "I'm sorry," she said, and then made the face people make when they realize they are rehearsing and stop. "No, not sorry, tired. I wanted to be wanted without the house arguing with the schedule." "I'll argue with the schedule," I said. "I'll make it lose." The days that followed were procedural the way good rituals are. We set dumb rules and kept them with the seriousness children reserve for games. No new devices added. No evening rows for guests. No later unless we can point at a clock. If jealousy knocks, it carries in groceries or waits in the stairwell. Day one, I failed and corrected. She texted a mirror photo from the elevator, hair up, mouth proving it remembers, captioned with the monosyllable our house has learned. Now, my thumbs wrote 15. I deleted the delay and wrote coming. We kissed against our own door, decency preserved by angle and intent. The hallway performed neutrality. Day two, I put the thermostat on learning mode like a child, and then made it forget everything it had learned about presence it couldn't prove. I renamed locations in the app. Bedroom became friendlier room. Living room became kitchen, as in where the good mistakes happen. Myra watched me do this with one eyebrow doing the fun work of skepticism, and then put her mouth against my jaw in a way that made the machines less relevant. Day three, Roman texted a sentence you can't be proud of and still survive. "I shouldn't have let a device decide I belonged." She showed me. I nodded. She replied with a screenshot of the household list showing only 2 familiar names and wrote, "It's warmer already." He didn't answer. The quiet improved him. Day 5, Dasha invited us to a warehouse show about ambient belonging, a phrase that made me want to do crimes to a dimmer switch. "We're busy being specific," I texted back. She sent a lemon and a pink heart, the international symbols for calling a friend a stubborn idiot and loving him anyway. Day 6, the city forgave the weather long enough for us to walk by the river and talk about everything besides men who confuse architecture for permission. Myra told me the first time she learned warmth can be stolen was in a school hallway where a boy opened his coat and decided she owed him winter. I told her the first time I learned heat is a job was in a flat where radiators clanged like drunk gods, and my mother taught me soup is how you vote for tomorrow. We bought plums that bruised while we were still smiling and ate them over a trash can like elegant thieves. She followed a line of juice down my wrist with her mouth. I didn't pretend to be above it. Day 7, the thermostat sent a weekly email. "Great job saving energy. 13 hours in eco." I closed the message and set my hand on her waist while she chopped parsley, an economy I prefer. Day 8, she came home damp as weather and set a bag of peaches beside the basil. "Now?" she asked. "Yes," I said. We kissed standing right there, and I swear the air changed temperature in the useful direction. If the thermostat claimed credit, I ignored it. Day 10, we fought about a towel, which means we fought about the correct response to disorder. Mid-argument, I apologized with my mouth. She corrected me with her hands. The fight retired to the corner to consider its life choices. We ate standing up and let the house have the version of us it deserves more often. Day 12, my mother called to ask about the rate and rhythm of our days the way she always does, by offering cabbage rolls as a metric. I told her we were eating and not freezing. She told me to remind the landlord that winter is a fact and not a myth. I told her I was the landlord. She laughed like relief always sounds in her throat. Myra took the phone and promised lied about visiting soon. My mother cried in emoji and asked about the basil, so we sent a photo like people who understand how to keep a parent alive. Day 13, Roman and I reached the same crosswalk at the same time. He looked like a man who had decided to occupy his body responsibly. He gestured at the sky like a person practicing humility externally. "The weather forgot itself," he said. "So did my house." "Remind it," I said, and we crossed in opposite directions, useful as scenery. Day 15, a plumber came to scold the bathtub. I added plumber iPad to the household and then watched it leave on the log like a respectable guest. Later, when the app asked if I wanted to save that device for future presents, I pressed no with more pleasure than the button deserved. On day 21, nothing begged for a speech. Myra came in with rain on her shoulders and a bag of small groceries that advertise attention. She leaned against the door like a person who has decided the next room can be built without tools. "Do you still want me now?" she said, and my mouth, trained by boredom and emergencies to answer correctly, said, "Always," a word I have decided to maintain like a machine that keeps nobody warm. We didn't drink to it. We boiled water. We kissed during stupid chores, setting plates, finding salt, pretending the basil had been worth the money. We made heat by hand while devices waited their turn. A week later, a padded envelope arrived with handwriting I recognized as somebody trying to be small. Inside, a thermostat sensor puck, one of those round, white things that you put in rooms where the math is wrong, and a note. "For the place that should decide," it said. We set the puck on the kitchen shelf because the kitchen is where we keep proving promises. If that was petty, it was a respectable kind. Sometimes the app still tries to parent me. "You could save 11% more with away mode," it suggests, as if distance is virtue. I ignore it like a man who accepts that love is expensive and warm. When I get home, the thermostat lights its little eye and asks if I'm here, and I press yes, and the house believes me. If you want a rule a machine can obey, remove devices you didn't invite, rename scenes so they answer to verbs you stand behind, disable any feature that confuses presence with permission. If you want the worse, better rule that keeps mouths useful, say now while the air still remembers who turned it. Say later, only when you already know where your hands will be. Say always when you're prepared to be boring and correct about it for as long as the deed lasts. Last night, as we were turning lights off, Myra pressed her thumb to the thermostat like a sacrament and said, "Home." Not to the device, to me. I pressed my palm over hers and answered with the only idiom the house deserves. "Now," I said. The heat came on with the small, obedient sigh of a creature that finally knows its job. The app stayed quiet because we did the work. The basil misbehaved and I forgave it. The bed suggested tomorrow as if it could afford to. And when the building made its old radiator music at 3 in the morning, I smiled. Because, for once, the only climate problem we had left was whether two people can keep choosing to be warm while the city tries to sell them other kinds of weather.